At this point, CDP knows that their affiliations can potentially put them in danger, but honestly, they aren't too worried. So Antonio Gilton and Skylar Stewart decide to wait for a friend in the Bayview district. So they wait for over 20 minutes in their car, but little do they know they're being set up. And out of nowhere, two Eddie Rock men walk up to the car. Bam! Both men went down but were released shortly after. And unfortunately, nearly every single event went unsolved. And that led to one of the worst years in the city's history. So after 20 people were lost in this, the city decided to step in. And this became a very controversial decision. They enacted what became known as the civil injunction against Eddie Rock and the Chop. This created safe zones where residents were not allowed to go, and if they were found in these zones, they were sent to jail. Well, the zones included their own neighborhood, so they weren't allowed to be on Eddy Street unless they were inside the apartment. And you might not see an issue with this, but this included people who had clean records as well. They classified anyone they wanted and essentially forced them out of the neighborhood. So many Eddie Rock and Chop residents ended up moving out to Antioch or Vallejo so they could live their life without any fear of getting in trouble. And here's the thing, the injunction did work. The area truly became a safer place, but I'm not sure that justifies the rule. Well, after Eddie Rock and the Chop were put away, CDP was still rolling. That's because they didn't live on public land. Instead, they lived in houses that their parents or grandparents owned. And because of that, the city couldn't legally put an injunction on them. However, SFPD wanted to take them down as well, but they knew it had to be a different way. But this would take a long time, and CDP ended up leading themselves to their own demise. And that takes us to 2012. After the loss of Skylar Stewart, Antonio, and this is when the CDP investigations began. The entire neighborhood went down over the next year. And here's the craziest part. Each and every single one of them was given the opportunity to go home free. If they were to make any statements regarding the Calvin Sneed case, everything would be dropped. Well, none of them said a word, and they are all doing life, 10 people in total. And this was officially the end of CDP. Because they all stayed solid, they are still highly regarded and respected in the Bay Area. But sadly, once they went down, all of their kids were left to fend for themselves. One of which was Barry Gilton's son, who ended up moving to Vallejo. He had moved in with his cousins and started playing point guard for Jesse Bethel. Well, after graduating, he started playing basketball for City College with his friend Jason, who goes by the nickname Lil Bean. However, neither of them were able to make the starting lineup because they were behind future NBA players like DeLon Wright. Well, after quitting basketball, he decided to start rapping under the name of Lil Pete, and instantly he took off. Songs like Get Back and 40 Bars Freestyle caught the attention of the entire West Coast. And shortly after, his cousin Lil Yee began rapping as well and blowing up with songs like We Living Hopeless. Instantly, many people had questions. Who are these ambiguous looking dudes and what are they rapping about? And until now, many people still have no clue what's going on behind the scenes. So let me introduce you to the new Fillmore. The neighborhood has changed a lot and you'll see Starbucks drinkers everywhere. Honestly, I wouldn't classify it as the hood anymore at all. It's a really nice place to live. However, for some residents, that's not the case. Now that CDP is all gone, the Chop is where Lil Pete began hanging out. And Lil Yee began rolling with Hayes, who are allies with the Chop as well. And although the music is packaged really well, things behind closed doors have gotten pretty messy in the Fillmore. The rivalry with Eddie Rock sparked back up on October 4th, 2013. The Chop's Jamal Gaines is sitting in his car in Japantown, just 2 blocks from the Fillmore. Well, somehow an Eddie Rock man gets word of his location, so he walks on foot to Japantown. Bang! Sadly for the Chop, Jamal's younger brothers Donzel and Janani were put in a difficult position. March 6, 2015, Donzel Gaines meets up with his friend JR at the Crocker Amazon playground. JR is a close friend of Lil Bean and Zay Bang and lives in Towerside, so it just so happens that Sunnydale was following him to the park. Bang! 2 Sunnydale men would go down for it, and this just goes to show how hard it is to avoid the Bay Area politics. Unfortunately, the Chop would have another loss just a year later, November 28th, 2016. Donzel and Jamal's youngest brother Janani Gaines, also known as J Chop, is hanging out in his neighborhood. Bang! Although the Chop was taking a lot of losses, Lil Pete's career began really taking off. In 2017, he released songs like In This Life, which have 20 million views on YouTube. And for Lil Yee, songs like Keep It On Me made him a staple on the West Coast. Also, please go listen to his song called Flawless. I promise you, you will not regret it. Anyways, a rapper from the other side began making noise as well. In 2018, Eddie Rock's Dex Kruger made a hit song called Keep It. Due to the injunctions, the rappers don't really diss each other, but honestly, Dex would do something a little more serious. He recorded one of his music videos in the chop and pretty much said that he's not worried about them at all. Well, maybe that's because they were getting busy across the bridge. And that takes us to New Year's Eve 2019. A man named Shuo Zhang goes to a local coffee shop to get some work done. It's actually his 34th birthday, but he's a software engineer and he made sure to get his tasks done before going out. Well, as he's doing his work, 3 men approach him. Javon Lee from the chop and his 2 friends, Kawan Wiggins and Byron Reed. They take Zhang's laptop, which is crucial for his job. So as a natural response, Zhang chases them to their car. Just days later, the 3 men from the chop would go down for it. However, rumors started flooding the city that Javon Lee was taking the Takashi route. This rumor was not confirmed by OPD. However, the 2 other men were sentenced and he was not.
In taking the laptop, Lee agreed to speak to ABC 7 News but did not want to appear on camera. He says Reed is his friend. When I asked if he was with Reed December 31st, he said, quote, "I'm not trying to talk about that. Do you belong in jail? Should you be there?" Lee responded, quote, "No, I shouldn't be here."
Byron Reed's sister would plead his case.
When my brother was home with my baby, like he always is.
Shaquila Reed is the older sister of suspect Byron Reed. She says no way her brother drove the getaway car. She says Reed was babysitting when the crime occurred.
I have 4 kids and no daddy in their lives. My brother is there for me all the time. And now they want to take him from me? That's not fair.
And this is a big reason why Eddie Rock clowns the chop because of incidents like this. Well, on a positive note, it seems like Empire has Lil Yee and Lil Peep on the right track. Unfortunately, Lil Peep hates dropping music, so he literally drops a banger and then falls asleep for 7 months. But I think it will be interesting what he has in store next, especially now that people know his story of hardship and perseverance.